This is Mike Farley, and we're at DFW this evening. We're going to talk about pool math. People have asked me to talk about this for a long time, and it's a very hard thing to discuss because there's so many variables involved in a project. So we're going to talk about some things in detail here. Some are going to have to be saved for another video so it doesn't get too long and you can get the specific information that you're looking for. The reason to generate this video is to help people, because a lot of times people are like, I just need to know if our dream is something like $40,000 in cost or if it's $400,000 in cost. We need to get an idea so we can talk to people about financing to begin with, which is a really good idea before you start the project to talk to someone about financing. What we're talking about is building a gunite pool. There are some other types of pool, fiberglass and vinyl. We're not discussing those today. We're talking about gunite pools because that's what's predominantly constructed in the DFW area. So one of the things is this is a custom product that's going to be manufactured in your backyard. They are never the same. So talking about, oh, my neighbor had this and my cousin had this, they're always going to be different. So we're going to try to cover a lot of those variables so you can understand why there's so many differences. First of all is there's a lot of people that choose different standards that are going to go on a swimming pool. The thought process that most of my clients choose to consider, and my job is to give people information so they can decide what's best for them. But over the years, my clients have chosen to use products that are going to make their pool much less expensive in the long run. In the initial construction process, though, there's going to be more costs. Standard items on a swimming pool, most of my clients consider an pool cleaner with a booster pump, standard piece of equipment. Along with that is we want a form of sanitation system, which we'll discuss those options on another video, of what to lower the maintenance aspects in that. The other thing is most of my clients are going to put a computer along with a variable speed pump and LED lights to save electrical costs long term on their swimming pool project. The other thing is it's been years since I've had a client choose to do something other than a pebble sheen pool finish inside their pool. So when we talk about pools, where I start as a standard product, you could build a pool probably $6,000 less and take those variables out. You put the standard equipment on a swimming pool, that basic pool on a flat lot with good access and good soil and a small pool is going to start somewhere around $39,000 in cost. Now, small pool, I'm going to say that's somewhere around 80 perimeter feet. That's the distance around the pool. That's somewhere near 400 square feet. That's somewhere with about 500 square feet of patio area, so we can have a table and some chairs out by the swimming pool. These are with standard materials. Again, we'll have another video later on that'll go into upgraded materials and some of the costs that range with that. But that's where most pools are going to start. If you get smaller than that, you're not going to save any money because you're not going to hit the minimums required for the subcontractors to come out. So the next thing that we're going to look at is things that are going to increase cost. First thing we talked about was access. Can we get a dump truck in your backyard? In most cases, that's not possible. So what can we do? Okay, well, we're going to drive in over your driveway, and so therefore we're going to walk an excavator in, and we're going to use a bobcat to shuttle the dirt to the dump truck on the street. Now some people will tell you, oh, we can drive a dump truck on your driveway. Again, the word change order is not really appreciated. Neither are cracked driveways and having to repair those. So other things about access is how wide of an opening do we have? Can we borrow part of the neighbor's yard to access in? These are all things that you'll have to consider to get the equipment in the backyard. If you have smaller than an opening of around 7'6" to go through, then you're going to have to rent special equipment. That's probably going to double your costs. You know, you might have $4,000 or $5,000 in additional costs to dig the pool, depending on the size of the pool and the soil type that you're dealing with. The other thing that's considered a lot of times in access is, should we remove an air conditioning unit or two to get in, and therefore use bigger equipment, that's usually removed for the day of the excavation. Most pools can be dug within a day, 2 days. So take the ACs out and you put them back in after the 2 days. Highly recommend a hotel stay if it's in the middle of the summer if you're removing an AC unit. You will not enjoy coming back into your house and try to cool it off if it's been really warm. So other things that come into play is soil type. And in the Metroplex, we have some of the most diverse soil that we have in the United States. We have everything from sand to clay to solid rock. Okay, so when we talk about soil type, the most ideal situation is you have a soils report, which tells you what's below the ground. If you're dealing with new construction of the home, that will have been done to figure out the engineering on the home. But most people don't have a soils report, so we have to go with experience of what's been done in those areas. A lot of times we have a lot of clay soil in the Metroplex, therefore a common solution is soil injection, which we'll get into that in a later video in detail, but that on average might add $3,000 in cost for a pool and the patio areas to be soil injected. If we hit rock, that's something again we'll talk about in detail more on the site-specific situation. Sand is great. If you have sand, you have problems watering your grass and keeping it wet, but structures are great to build in a sand situation. So finishes, again, we're going to talk about more in detail on another video. That would be your coping and your tile, your interior finishes, and as well as grading is a big issue on projects. We're going to discuss those in more detail. So let's go into size and how size can impact the cost of the pool. We started at $39,000 in cost. That was a small pool. We're going to make the pool perimeter from 80 to 90. It's going to increase the pool about 100 square feet. Now we have a small pool to an average size pool. That's going to add about $5,000 in cost for the additional patio area of about 200 square feet and the additional pool size. A lot of people, that's a great size pool for them. So, but for some people, they don't want just an average size pool. They want a large recreational depth pool. And so they're going to make it, another 10 perimeter feet up to 100 perimeter feet. It's going to add 100 square feet of area. They may add another 200 square feet of deck, and that's going to add another $5,000 in cost. So now we're up to about $10,000 additional to your 39, and we're somewhere around $49,000 in cost. You have a very nice recreational sized pool. But some people don't want a recreational pool. Recreational pool is somewhere under 6 feet in depth. Whether it's 6 inches deep or 6 feet, the costs are generally the same. However, some people want it deep enough that they can dive head first into. The industry says from a safety standpoint that needs to be 6.5 feet, and that would add about $1,000 in cost to make our pool a little bit deeper. Now, some people are like, well, I don't want to dive off the concrete. I want to dive off a diving board or a diving rock or a platform. Well, if that's elevated up about 18 inches in height, you're going to need to add about 18 inches in height to the depth of your pool. So your pool is going to be at least 8 feet deep. As a safety standard, a lot of pool companies prefer to go 8.5. That's going to add, from a cost standpoint, about instead of $1,000, about $2,500. Now, we also want to jump off of something, so we're going to put in a diving rock or a diving board. If you had a diving board, it's probably going to add another $1,500 in cost. So to make a pool deep enough for diving and a diving board, you're going to probably add about $4,000 in cost. Now, with that pool, we don't have a big shallow area. So some people want to, again, make the pool bigger. So they're going to come in and maybe go all the way up to 120 perimeter feet from 100. And to do that, it's going to add another $7,000 in cost. Now we have a really big pool. We could play some water basketball in and dive safely in. And some people want massive, so we can have volleyball with a good sized volleyball game and diving. You might add to add another $7,000 in cost. So now that gives you a full gamut of sizes and depths to consider with a swimming pool. So a spa is something a lot of people want to consider with the pool. This allows 365 days of use for your backyard enjoyment. So with a spa, you're going to have a gas line, a heater, and the spa itself. And the gas line can affect the cost greatly. So we're going to go with the average situation here. If you have a spa, average size, it's flush with the pool, gas line and heater, you're going to add around $12,000 in cost. A lot of people want the spa to be a water feature, so therefore they elevate it up 18 inches. It also becomes a bench to sit on. You're going to have a lot of stonework on the veneer of it. That's going to add about $2,000 more, so $14,000 for a raised spa. So again, it'll depend on the gas run, which may affect the overall cost for that. Some cities require also what's called a backwash line. It's a way to clean out the filter. A lot of times that'll be about $1,000 in cost, and it'll vary according to city codes. Unknown costs that could come up in the project. There's several things. One is utilities that have to be relocated. In Texas, if you dial 811, they will come out and locate all the utilities on your property. This is extremely helpful if you have easements in the back of your property that have utilities in them. If the designer knows this early in the process, those costs can be addressed. A lot of times we won't know the utility costs because some of them can't be located in case like a sewer line. But these are things that could add costs. The other unknowns is hitting rock on a project. We don't know what's underground unless we get a soil report. The other thing is hitting water. This is generally an issue on hillsides, especially if you're towards the bottom of the hillside. When you dig a hole, water is going to come into that hole, so you may need to put gravel in the bottom and a sump pump. What's critical in this whole process is the designer that you choose to use. The more experience they have, the less surprises you'll have on the project. Therefore, the less change orders you're going to have on the project. Therefore, the happier you're going to be with this project. So, experience is something that's very important. So, one of the first things is the site preparation that's going to be required on your project. Site preparation could be tree removal, could be concrete removal, it could be sprinkler repair that has to be done. Those are all things that could be considered on almost every project that is an existing home. There is sprinkler repair. And what you want to do is understand what that cost is going to be. The way that we work with our subcontractors, we have a flat rate, so there's no surprises long term on what that could be. So what you want to consider with the sprinkler repair and some type of autofill is looking at somewhere around $2,000 in cost for that line item. The purpose of this video is to save you time. The more information that you can give your designer that you're working with on the scope of the project that you have in mind, and knowing what costs are going to be before you get into that project, the more quickly a designer can develop what will be best for you. Because a lot of times, if costs aren't brought in early in the project, people wander over into left field when they need to be in right field on what needs to be done for their situation. So, the more open you can be in that process, again, the quicker the process will go for you. Swimming pools are going to start somewhere in the high 30s with good products to begin with. If you want a diving pool, you're going to need a much larger pool and deeper pool. Therefore, it's going to be additional costs. And the other items that we're going to look at on future videos will cover the pool upgrades and the outdoor living grades and materials. So I'll give you a complete scope of work for your project. What we've talked about initially is short-term costs. One of the things that's critical in this process is to consider long-term costs. The equipment that you use will greatly affect your utility costs. Your sanitation system will greatly affect your chemical costs. The finishes that you use will greatly consider what has to be remodeled and refinished over a period of time. And things that initially require a small investment will save you multiple folds long term. So these are things that you want to carefully consider on the longevity that you're going to be in a project and what details that you require. I hope this information has been helpful for you to figure out the scope of your project. This all is based on my experience in the pool industry, which is about 30 years, and my background also as a landscape designer in Texas and landscape architect in California. As I mentioned, this is all different on every single site. This is also all different in every city in the United States. These costs are based on the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, but you have to realize also one of the factors that's involved is, are you in the county? Are you in a city? If you're in a city, there's permits. In some city, permits are a little cost, and other cities, permits are huge cost. So those are all factors that have to be involved in a project. Again, also supply and demand of materials. In the last couple of years, there's been significant changes in cost due to demand for concrete and other raw ingredients and just equipment and manufacturing. But hopefully this has been helpful to give you a place to start and look at where my costs might be from a rough situation. To get definite costs, you're going to need a design and a site visit by someone that's very skilled in analyzing your site in full detail. And then you'll have a very accurate situation. But this can help you get the process started, or consider if it's something you want to start at this point in time, or if it's going to require a little bit more planning and savings before we start. So thanks again for your time, and glad to help you out in this situation, and we look forward to talking to y'all soon. Enjoy your backyard.